don't cook anymore. It's just me. So I'm just like, when my kids come around though, like for New Year's, I cooked. I put my foot in some
I cook a
really
lot.
good food.
The
And I
last
use
2 days, my
broth.
poor husband has been having, like, heatable stuff, and he's like, "Do you feel better?" I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Well, you
No.
miss my food, do you?"
Oh,
Okay, food.
Are we recording? Talking about
we're
food,
recording.
dreaming, I'm salivating. I'm like,
But you know what? Last time they made it, and it's like they dumped all the spring mix. Like this sandwich was mostly their spring salad mix. And I know that that's what they use for the L part,
yeah,
but it was just like,
Ton of it.
there's a lot of arugula in my
Yeah.
sandwich for sure, but I liked it. There was a lot of salt and there was like other vegetables. It was so
the bread is the best part.
And then I dipped it in the tomato soup.
The bread's the best part.
Oh my gosh, right. Stop talking about food.
Did we
I
all
eat-
say welcome to deliver?
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to
Welcome to
Delivered.
delivered.
We're
late.
late.
That was good. Welcome to Delivered. We are delivering midwives, mothers, midwives, and magic. Today, we are going to be talking about eating in labor, something that is, as working as a doula, we talk about this so much. What's on our birth plan? It's like, do you want to eat? And what I hear a lot is, oh my gosh, can I eat in labor? And then we talk about how you have to advocate for yourself sometimes. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the benefits during pregnancy, right? Not just during labor, but during pregnancy as well. We're also going to talk about what some of these larger communities are saying about eating in labor, some that we really look to, like ACOG or the American Society of Anesthesiologists. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Sherry.
And Erica.
And welcome to Delivered or Something. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Sherry.
And Erica.
We are delivering mothers, midwives, and magic. Welcome to Delivered. Perfect. We can play with it. We'll play with it.
We'll get better.
So eating in labor, cravings, right? We talk about cravings a lot. I think because of entertainment and society, it's like, oh, you're pregnant. Are you having any cravings? What have you been craving? What are you eating? Sometimes we talk about that in appointments too. Or are you having any aversions? Like, what do you hate right now? What is making you not feel so good? So it's super relevant to our work. Food is big.
I believe food is your medicine, but if it can be your medicine, it can also be your poison. What I've always told clients is to listen to your cravings because they tell you what your body needs. But sometimes we have bad programming or bad memories of what that is. This is my example, and it's just because it works, and I've told it again and again. I had a client come in, and she's like, Sherry, I am craving milk like crazy, but I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm on the toilet all the time. And I'm like, whoa. Hadn't done fun. And so then I was like, you know what? We grew up watching those commercials that milk, it does a body good. Without milk, where you get your calcium.
The mustaches? The milk
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, because I have an allergy to milk, and people are like, "How do you get your calcium? You're going to be an old, hunched over old lady, you know. I'm going to have osteoporosis if I don't drink milk." And so we just visited how else can you get calcium. She made those changes and put that food in her diet. It was exactly what she needed. Our bodies are so brilliant. It's just the information that we have to seek. Why is it so hard to dive into healthy eating? Why is that so hard here in America?
Yeah.
Well, because I think that what's offered to us is just terrible. And we talked about this in another episode, or maybe we were talking about it beforehand, but I'm sorry, and I don't think this is going to be popular, so I apologize if I offend anyone, but organic food. How do you really know what you're buying in the grocery store is actually organic? Okay, so it has that cute little label that says certified organic, but is it really? And does that little label just give them the justification to be able to sell it at an exponentially higher price?
I was going to say, it's not just that cute little green sticker, right? There's definitely a price difference.
Price increase. My understanding is the organic industry only claims to be 20% more beneficial. So it's not like the benefit, because I did a tour of a lot of food in grocery stores is grown hydroponically. And the reason they do that is because they can mimic the seasons. They can have more harvesting.
You can have peaches in the middle of winter.
What does water do? Water brings bugs. And so they have to use pesticides. And to get that organic label, they just have to not use pesticides 2 weeks prior to harvest. That was what the tour said. They said they have to keep the bugs out of it. They have to keep the bugs. But they said so long as we don't do it 2 weeks before harvest, it can be organic
Not just
there.
Which is what matters most, right?
But it's not just in produce. Case in point. So we were talking before about food, and I'm like, oh, well, I always make my own soup, but cream cheese. So I've recently been on a kick where I've been making my own cream cheese because it's really easy. It's one ingredient. It's sour cream through a cheesecloth, and it's incredibly simple. But what I read in the recipe is to specifically use organic sour cream. So I did a comparison. I was at Sprouts yesterday, and I did a comparison with regular Sprouts sour cream and their organic sour cream for $3 or $4 more. Okay. And I'm reading the ingredients. You want to know what the only difference was? The only difference was that the non-organic was made with whole milk and the organic was made with cream. That was the only difference. In this recipe, the person was specific in saying, make sure you don't buy anything with xanthan gum in it. Well, here's what I've noticed. I do not care if you're organic or non-organic, your cream cheese, your sour cream, it's all got that in it. You know why? Because it's a stabilizer.
Well, it's that shelf stabilizer. It's what they use. My understanding of a lot of organic produce goes bad quicker because
they're trying to use less of it.
Exactly.
But here's the reality.
It's overwhelming as a consumer. When you go into pregnancy and you're like, I care about this human being I'm growing. It needs nutrition. I need nutrition. Because what I tell people is your baby takes what they need and you're living on the leftovers.
Yep, totally.
So if you feel bad because your leftovers suck, you've got to have good leftovers. So whatever you feed that baby takes the most. If you're not giving enough, living off the leftovers is going to make you feel some kind of way. You have to kind of talk to your clientele. If they're having Fruity Pebbles every day for breakfast.
Diet Coke and Fruity Pebbles. I use that analogy all the time.
I have gone to the South and witnessed Coca-Cola in a bottle being given to a kid.
Yep. Yeah.
So like so you have to meet people where they're at. And where can you just change it a little bit, right? Maybe it's so easy that instead of salt, you are buying Himalayan salt to get the minerals. But now you go into that and there's scammers in that taking advantage and dyeing salt, but there's not the trace minerals. That's overwhelming as a consumer, let alone a pregnant consumer who's going, this is important to me. What changes can I make? For you and your experience with your practices, what are some simple, easy things that you have witnessed clients do that have made them feel better and get over like maybe morning sickness or heartburn? What are some little tips and tricks that you've seen witnessed have worked?
So I think for me, the heartburn is a really hard one. And especially if you have a client who suffers from hyperemesis. And hyperemesis is when a woman is vomiting severely her entire pregnancy. There are different levels of HG, but usually it's pretty bad. So I basically tell my clients, listen to your body. So I've had vegan clients who will come to me and whisper, I really want a Big Mac. Then go get your Big Mac. Nobody's going to tell on you. Nobody's going to judge you. Sit in your car and eat your Big Mac because that's what your body is wanting. I think women who are pregnant feel like they have to eat a certain way. Like Sherry was saying, the baby gets the best of everything and you get the leftovers, which is why we want you to eat a well-rounded diet because then you're getting a little bit of everything. I have my clients do a food diary. I'm big for the food diary. My clients write it out and bring it in.
They do. My clients, if they do it, I just say, what did you learn about your diet? Because I think people know. They don't need me to tell them. I tell them, check in with yourself because I check in with myself. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm drinking plenty of water. Then I monitor it for a couple of days and go, okay, I'm not drinking enough water.
Exactly.
Or I'm getting enough vegetables. I monitor what I'm eating and go, I'm getting too many carbs. So checking in, I think, is important.
And
with you
yourself. I think that's really important and even more important during pregnancy.
My tip would be avoid processed foods as much as you can. Just avoid it. You can't make hyper changes that will stay. You have to make a change that feels right to you. For me, when I got my food allergy test, which really saved the quality of my life, wheat, coffee, dairy, those were my top allergens. Food stays in your body for 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that it takes 21 days for something to cycle through your body. So for me, my trick now to myself is when I go to eat something that's processed, I have to go, is that worth 21 days?
Of feeling bad and
Is it worth,
even just the effects that it's gonna take.
is it worth that 20 days?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm surprised how much I still make a bad choice, but I try to look at it like, this is going to be in my body for this long, and is it feeding me? And so, like we were talking, I went to Panera yesterday because I've been doing a lot of soups because my throat, and so I've been soup, and they have their little like get a half a sandwich, and I was like, oh, I haven't had a sandwich in so long. That sounds so good. So I got like a half a sandwich and soup, and it was like the best. It was worth it, I think. Yeah,
I believe it was.
I believe it. 21 days.
I want
But,
my
like,
soup,
and it was a
stuff
healthy,
like that out.
so it's
I
not
would do that.
processed, right? Like
Yeah.
it was like, it's made there. I kind of trust their connections a little bit, but eating out is hard.
I
Yeah.
need my soup. I'll have to bring you some.
Erica's gonna make us soup.
But I
Done.
think avoiding process, right? Maybe push yourself to try and make one thing from scratch.
Making things from scratch is time consuming. And in our busy lives, it's not always easy. But in the long run, it'll be beneficial. One of the things that I never buy is pasta sauce. I go into the store, and now just for grins and giggles, I'll read the ingredients on like Rayo's, which is a really high-end good pasta sauce. But they have pretty good ingredients. And I'm sitting there reading the ingredients. I'm like, forget about it. I can do this better at home and mine will taste better. You make enough of it so you can freeze it, so you always have it. I have chicken broth in my refrigerator right now. The chicken broth I have in my refrigerator is not the same chicken broth you're going to get at the grocery store. Real chicken broth, when you put it in the refrigerator, even after straining it through a cheesecloth, it coagulates into chicken fat.
Yeah.
I have a jar full of chicken schmaltz, which is fabulous, but you have to heat it up. People get put off by that.
But you're bringing up a really good thing, and that is food prep, right? And I think during pregnancy, food prep is so great for those days that you are not feeling good, and for postpartum. So learning to meal prep, like at the beginning and the start of our week, we make a pot of rice, and then I've got that in the fridge. So I know if I'm going to make myself a rice bowl, that piece is already taken off for me. I can maybe saute some vegetables.
Right. It's
and
easier.
So simplifying your life a little bit. And food prep, I think a lot of our clients do kind of have to think that way.
And that's just reminding me of how we always talk about meeting our clients where they're at. And we've been talking about restructuring so much. And like, how do we make this part easier? How do we make it more, if it's about making it more fun or less time consuming or whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah.
That just makes me think, how can we do that more? What do people really need to make this part, the food part, what's so important, more accessible, right? And that's one of the things that people always, I mean, one of the first things I looked up when I was pregnant was, what can I eat? And you hear about, I can't wait to have sushi once I'm not pregnant anymore. I can't wait to have a sandwich.
I'm
after
so
not
glad
pregnant
you
anymore.
brought that up.
You know?
The client, she was like, I really am craving sushi. And I'm like, so go to a reputable sushi restaurant and have sushi. She goes, but I can't have sushi. I said, I'm sorry. What do all the women in Japan eat? Like, their diet is rice and raw fish.
Yeah.
So
it's all such a joke.
It is a joke.
Sushi, soft cheese, deli meat.
Oh, the deli meat kills.
Just don't eat sketchy food. Yeah. That's what it should say. That's what it should say. You should look at the ACOG, and ACOG should go, when you're pregnant, don't eat sketchy.
Don't buy sushi from the gas station.
If your roast beef has a rainbow sheen to it,
don't eat it.
If your sushi's sitting out on ice at a buffet, don't eat it. If it's been in your fridge for over 5 days, don't eat it.
It's common sense. Here's the thing. You all have common sense. I may not know any of you watching this, but I am pretty assured that most of you have common sense.
We might have common sense, but we're so programmed. We're so programmed about, when it comes to pregnancy, what we should be eating, what makes a good pregnancy, what makes a not so good pregnancy. We're so programmed. And so it's hard to have that common sense because we say, listen to your body. A lot of us don't,
You're
people
right.
who are
No, you're
not
right.
pregnant don't know how to listen to their body or what their body might be telling them
Right.
when something is
Because
happening.
I don't think women have been given permission.
Exactly.
They are so used to being told how to think, how to feel, how to function. So when someone gets pregnant, they don't look within themselves.
They're asking us.
They've been programmed to seek professional advice because they don't want to screw it up. That's the big part about midwifery and home birth. We are there to empower
Yep.
clients to know the difference of when can I take care of this myself?
Do I
Herbs,
need
food,
help?
rest. When is this outside and I need to seek professional help? The medical system wants you to take all of it there
Yep.
instead of managing that own. When I had children, I had to make a decision. Who am I going to rely on for my children's well-being? Am I going to rely on a medical caregiver who talks to me about formula, rice, cereal, whatever the story is? Or do I have to take some responsibility and accountability?
Right.
And I think that's a hard piece when we talk about meeting our clients. It's where are they on that journey? Are they ready to make some decisions and choices for themselves? Or is their comfort level being told, this is the safe way to do it? I'm just going to choose the safe. I think there's like right or wrong. It's what works for them. And so I think when it comes to food and nutrition, I think America has this relationship with food. I think worldwide we talked about
unhealthy
travel.
relationship with food. We have an unhealthy relationship with food.
Food does bring us together. Food does comfort. We have food memories, like our comfort foods.
Food smells elicit memories. Like, oh my God, like
Powerful.
that smell reminds me of my first grade classroom or my grandmother's house.
So kind of diving in with your relationship. What is their relationship? I had a client of mine and we were talking about children and parenting. And when your child starts putting on weight, when do you intervene? I brought up, like, somebody had said something to me once, like, oh, Sherry, you're borderline chunky in my youth. And that stuck with me and saying the wrong thing. And she went home. And mind you, she's having her fourth kid. She's in her 30s. And she was home. And there was some zebra popcorn out, where they drizzle the white and black chocolate over top of it. And she was snacking on it. And her dad took the bowl away and went, let me help you not be tempted.
And it hurt her so much. It hurt her. I felt the energy in the room.
And I wasn't even in the room
about it. And it's like, as a woman who is about to have her fourth baby, all of these things around food and the way that she relates to it, the way that other people relate to her relating to food, how important that is and how that sticks with us. Our relationship with food is so integral to how we are pregnant, how we parent, and just as non-pregnant people, how we live our lives. Right?
Well, just look at fashion magazines.
Okay, right? Like I don't know what
What
else
happened is
I
everyone
picked up.
gotten in Hollywood now because they're all doing the shot. There are some people who are thin, and I know sometimes they work to put on weight.
Yes.
There are some
And that's
people
not
who
talked
are
about. Yes, that is an
Yes.
eating disorder that is not
Yes.
talked about. Is that
And so there are humans so everyone's relationship with food, that client in that moment, it felt big.
Yeah.
When you're talking about your story, it felt so heavy. You just wanted to embrace her and be like, it's okay that you want that fucking
eat the
popcorn.
popcorn. Eat the popcorn.
And it's okay
popcorn.
that somebody didn't see you, And it's okay. We see you here. We see you in this space.
We
You're
see
safe in
you,
this
we
space.
hear you, and we love you no matter what.
That occasional moment where you stopped and something you just wanted it. And because that's it. I think most people, they come in with their diet diaries and they'd be like,
Oh, I messed up here. I know.
oh, I had a cookie. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Good for you. You had the
We're not looking
Good
at
for you.
that.
And
We want to
that's
know,
that's
did you
what
get vegetables?
is.
Did you get, how does it
They're
feel?
like,
Yeah.
oh, you're going to hate my food diary. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a food Nazi. I just want to know that you're drinking enough water.
Yeah.
You're eating vegetables.
Water, protein.
Protein.
Water,
Protein.
That is my doubt.
protein.
Water and protein. And I don't care where you're getting the protein
I don't
from.
care about your snacks.
Like, we can dive into that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's where meeting your clients where they're at. Sometimes I come in and I have a conversation about protein. For a vegan or a vegetarian client, that looks a little
Different.
different.
Oh, it's different. A lot different.
And then maybe we're talking about like, okay, you're getting your protein in a whey protein shake. Whey's maybe not the best one. Let's visit other forms of protein. Maybe we're going to visit hemp protein or pea protein, but not everybody's going to have that conversation. Some people are kind of like, maybe we're going to have a chicken breast. How are we eating that chicken breast? Or are we having an egg? Are we going to wake up and have maybe a boiled egg or a scrambled egg? Or maybe we just change it a little bit. I think when you look at breakfast food in America, they touted the 3 meals a day. But in pregnancy, it's not supposed to be 3 meals a day. It's supposed to be like 5.
Yeah, but Kellogg killed that.
Snacky, snacky, snack.
We decided that we could have cornflakes for breakfast. We're not supposed to be eating that much corn.
A lot of times when you go to other countries, the meals they're eating are savory.
Yes.
Because it is that nourishing piece, whereas we have delved into the carbohydrates of pancakes and waffles and breakfast cereal.
Well, like I bring up Japan again, only because their breakfasts are rice and fish and vegetables.
Well, they do congee or
oh yeah,
or kitchery and some of the cultures. And so I guess when you look at it, you've just got to meet your client where they're at, listen to their craving. And maybe if you just introduce something that works for you, right? This works for me. I like talking like that a little bit. Like, you know what? I struggle with that same thing. I've tried this or I've tried that, or I've heard this work for other people. And I don't like that idea of telling people this is the expectation of you in your pregnancy, because I don't want people to feel shame. And I also don't feel necessarily qualified to dive in from a therapy mental standpoint.
Yes, because that's what we're doing, right? When we're talking about a diet diary or a food diary, we're making these people think about what they're eating and maybe how they could be doing better, maybe how they're not doing so hot. And it is a mental thing. So I think you're right. It does encompass so much more than just what's on your plate. We get to do great things as midwives. We get to bring these things up, meet people where they're at, and
I
empower
learn
people.
too. I learn too.
Yeah.
You know, they come in with their ideas and then I get to share. I heard from this client, this is what they're doing, or this might be hyperemesis is a real hard one. That is something that is just real tricky every time. You really have to dive into that piece.
That's hard.
And sometimes it's not even what you think it is, right? Like when people go, oh, I have food issues. I have issues with texture of food. That's been there my whole life. And my parents were that, like, you eat everything on your plate. I can't tell you how many nights I sat at the dining room table, looking at the clock on the wall, waiting for 9 o'clock to hit so I could go to bed, because there's no way I was putting any of that in my mouth.
Oh, I remember I was 15 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. My stepmother, who was a god-awful cook, made something for dinner. And she was like, you're not leaving the table until you eat it. And I just sat there. And I think it was 10 o'clock at night.
If you don't eat this, you're not eating nothing. You can go to bed or do whatever you want, but don't touch anything else in that kitchen. You know,
absolutely.
Now, if you watch me eat, I always leave a couple bites on the plate. And because for me, it was giving myself permission
to not finish.
You have permission
to not finish all
when you are full, you can stop eating.
Have you gone out to dinner with me? Or I'll order something, take 4 bites, and take it home.
Because when I'm full, I want to stop eating. Or if I don't like something and I've given it a chance, I give myself permission to go, it's okay to eat food you don't like.
That's super empowering. I'm glad that you take that step for yourself, because the trauma that we have around food,
it's triggering.
What our clients sat here and shared with us, that is traumatic, right? So when we have this space where our shoulders reach up, and she was saying, my jaw is getting tight, my blood pressure is going up. I'm checking her blood pressure while she's having this conversation, and her blood pressure is going up a little bit. This trauma around food is so important to recognize and then to validate.
Food, though, is our fuel and it is our medicine. And I think, too, the other piece that I witness with my clients is making the time to sit down. A lot of times they're doing so much in their lives that they don't even have time. When they go to work, I've had to write letters. This client gets to take breaks to have snacks, do water, hydration. Like, employers don't understand that this pregnant human needs to have maybe a banana and some granola with oat milk or whatever. They should be able to do that at the office. They're there for 8 hours, which means they should have access to healthy items of food in the workplace.
I
If
agree.
that's where they're gonna be. If they go home and on the fly, if I have stay-at-home moms come in and they feed their kids, well, did you eat as well? No. When your kid took a nap, did you take care of yourself? Nah, I had laundry to do. Giving women permission to nourish themselves, to care for self. We talk about self-care, and immediately when we talk about self-care, we go, getting your nails done, getting a massage, getting wax. No, self-care is simple as loving yourself enough to sit with yourself, give yourself permission to take time for you, whether that's a shower, that you have
Alone.
permission to do that with little hands, a door. I give myself permission to nourish and love myself.
We don't do that. We're not allowed to do that.
But I think that as midwives, we're giving women permission. And maybe the start of that spark is now they have their answers, because I think everybody has their own answers, right? You just have to go, well, what do you think? And then they go, this is what I think. That's exactly what it is. So then what happens in labor? Let's bring this to the day of labor, right? Hopefully as midwives, we've given them permission, but if you're having a hospital delivery, that looks a little different.
Yeah.
So let's talk at home. We encourage our clients to eat.
Oh,
We're not going to have a big steak dinner,
no.
but
I've
we're gonna have a
I
salad.
have had someone one time.
Yeah.
This woman, God bless her, she ate, and she ate well during
for
her
her.
entire labor. And then after that baby came out, and she's in bed, and she had steak. She had steak, she had a baked potato, and
After the birth, for sure. Sometimes we have women who are vomiting during labor. So it makes sense that they go, I don't feel like eating. And we go, okay, we might give them like small nibble on this cracker or this blueberry or
This honey stick or
this
something.
honey
and-
stick.
Yeah.
I like the blueberry. I have had clients literally take a bite
Exactly.
of a blueberry.
Haven't you been like that where you know you need nourishment,
And
but
it's
your
like,
body's kind of like,
yeah.
but then you force yourself to have that little piece that actually feels good.
I keep crackers in my house because I tend to get nauseous at night. I will wake. I'm not, obviously, I'm not pregnant, but I will, oh, I don't feel good. Let me go downstairs and have a couple of crackers. And that always
I did
makes
that
me
the
feel
other
better.
night,
Yeah.
but I did dried apricots. There was a dried apricot. And literally, I picked a dried apricot up. I knew I needed nourishment, but I wasn't feeling very well. I took the tiniest bite
And then I felt
that for a little bit. And then I took another bite and I sat with it. And I think that's people in labor. Because if your body's busy, like, getting ready to birth this
Exerting
human,
all this energy.
yes, you need energy. And so they said the caloric output of being in labor is equivalent to a 50-mile hike. So when I go on a hike, can I get to my mountaintop? I'm pulling out maybe a tangerine. Maybe I'm pulling out some granola. Maybe I've made some fruit leather, like something, I don't get to that hike and sit on that mountaintop and go, oh my gosh, I need something big, because then my body now is digesting
Your
this
body
food.
can't
So
handle
it
it.
needs easily digested food. So we looked up the rules.
We've been doing a lot of research
Yes.
because this is such an important topic. That's one of the first things that people
Yeah.
think about, not only in pregnancy, but in labor too, is like, what can I eat? Can I eat? Am I going to be able to eat in
And
labor?
that's big in the hospitals, because at home we don't care. You can do whatever you want at home,
Right.
but it's in the hospital
So
where
let's
it
address
comes
that
up.
piece, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
since
so that's what we're gonna talk about.
98% of humans
Are having
birth in the
hospital birth. We had some research done, but some really reputable sources that we reference all the time, like ACOG, which is the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. They recommend that low-risk patients consume clear liquids during labor, but avoid solid food. So I know when we're thinking about hydration, we think about liquids and stuff, but when I think about the energy it takes to push a baby out and do the work of labor, I don't think about clear liquids. I'm thinking about at least a honey stick, a granola bar, or some beef jerky or something. So, and even being a doula, I go into the hospitals, and that is something sometimes I have to sneak people snacks because there's a negative connotation around eating in labor. And when we think about the reason why, it is completely outdated. Right? Can you talk more about that, Sherry, about why we don't want it?
Well, they used
Or
to
what?
say,
No, because they were setting you up in case you had to have a surgical birth.
right, if you went back for emergency, and at the time, the masks weren't clear. So there were humans that were asphyxiating. Then they came out with clear masks so they could see whether someone was asphyxiating. Still didn't change the rule. They're always preparing you if you had surgery. Even if you called the hospital and you were going in for surgery or induction, they'll say, don't eat any food.
12 hours before.
I think it's a lot.
Mm.
I think it's 6.
My sister had a C-section in 2022, and it was 12 hours.
It's crazy.
She was scheduled for a C-section.
Dr. Wilkes has told me, so long as they haven't had any food in 6 hours, that's what he has said to me.
Do you want to know why they don't want you to eat?
So you don't shit.
So you don't throw up on the operating table.
They're trying to avoid you being sick for sure.
If you're in a car accident and you've just had a big 7-course meal at Morton's Steakhouse
They're not gonna
and
wait.
you're bleeding
They're not gonna
internally,
wait 6 hours.
are they going to wait 6 hours to perform the necessary surgery?
I think this comes down to us treating pregnancy like
As a sickness. It's not a medical.
right?
Mhm.
And they are going to look at this as a medical event. They are looking at keeping things in control. They don't want you walking around. They don't want you actually feeling energy. They want you in bed with an epidural as low maintenance as possible.
Easy for them. Yep.
They're understaffed. So if they have somebody come in and they don't want the epidural and they don't want to hook up to things, because that was the research. I paid someone to call around all the hospitals in the Valley and find out what their protocols were. And they all aligned with this. So they said low risk humans are allowed to eat. But the moment you get that epidural,
Can't eat anymore.
you have that Pitocin,
No more food.
you are now considered high risk and you may not eat. A big thing for me.
It's huge because, like you said, we're preparing for this event that will possibly not happen. That's going to make their job a little bit easier. When I was pregnant, this was way over my head. Wasn't thinking about it. This is 100 years ago. But, I wasn't thinking about that. And you go into the hospital and so many people are like, what these people are saying in here is law. This is what I have to do. This is what's going to help me have a good outcome. And the fact that we have the American Society of Anesthesiologists saying something completely different, that healthy women with low risk pregnancies can safely eat a light meal during labor.
The mind-blowing thing is the moment you get an epidural, you're considered high risk. That to me is what blew my mind. Oh my gosh. If you select this epidural, you now are considered high risk. Now
No.
we have more control over what you can and can't do. We've focused so much on the inability to move. We've been like, the moment you get an epidural, you just can't walk around. You can't change, blah, blah, blah. But oh my gosh, to go, no. We've pushed you into a high risk category now. You just lost a bunch of your freedoms for pain management.
Doesn't it kind of go back to
Through
autonomy?
informed consent.
It's informed consent and
informed
autonomy.
consent.
Like,
You go up to the base and ask for an epidural, they're going to tell you straight up. Why? Because the base is all about cutting costs.
yep, it's government.
Doing
So,
things with
yeah.
the least amount, which I love. I don't want to go to a hospital where their goal is to
Cut
rack up a
insurance.
ginormous bill
Yeah.
so they can make a ton of money off me. To me, that's powerful. And that is the standard of care. What percentage of women go into the hospital knowing they're going to get an epidural? I would say over
Not
90%.
knowing that. That's the thing.
That's-
They
know
consider
that.
high risk.
To me, that's that piece right there to go. I knew I couldn't walk around after that happened, but to know that I'm now in this category, I feel like that deserves to be divulged. I
Yeah.
think that's negligent
High
because
risk.
I think giving humans as much information so that they
Knowledge
can
is
make their own.
power. Knowledge is power. And the more knowledge you have, the more powerful you are, and the better able you are to make decisions best for you. Cindy Smith may decide, oh, no, I am not getting that epidural. That is never going to happen. But Jenny Jones in the next room might be like, you know what, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's making sure that everybody has the information so they can make the informed
I
choice.
didn't even understand it until Hannah made those calls for us. And it was absolutely clients can eat in labor until this, and this happened.
Well, but also some of the hospitals said it's up to the individual physician.
And that's the thing you were just mentioning. We need information. We need to feel empowered. If we have the pick of hospitals and we go, okay, I want to make sure that I can eat in labor. Who do I'm calling everybody. And like we had Hannah do, and the answers that we got, how are we supposed, because they're so ambiguous. It's about the provider. Your provider's not there until you're having a baby.
Nobody wants to take responsibility.
Or
No, the
accountability.
facilities don't want to take responsibility.
The doctor blames the hospital,
hospital
hospital blames the doctor. The doctor then maybe blames the insurance person or the lawyer.
Very circular.
We don't, when I go in and I go, what is your policy on this? Right. I'm like, can I see that in writing?
No, you can't, because they don't
Can
have
I
one.
see-
And the truth
We
is,
did that about birth hubs. We did that about, all of it. And we just get these very
ambiguous,
wishy-washy,
it's up to the
like you're
person
talking to a
about
lawyer
this.
a little bit.
very legalese,
Yes.
ambiguous statements.
Yes.
That's not what families need to hear. Families need to hear supportive, positive statements.
Well, at the very least, they deserve honesty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just honesty.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to dig so hard. You should be able to get honest information the moment you sign that paper,
Well,
which you have to sign.
I've had this happen, and I know some other women have had this happen. I think this doctor is retired now, but there was a doctor in town. He used to get really annoyed, and he would look at the people in the room and be like, who's managing this birth? Well, we talk about managing births as midwives, but here's the reality. It's the birthing person that needs to be heard and listened to. Like, what all of the rest of us in the room think doesn't really matter. It's about the person who's in labor and what they're feeling. So if, like I said, if that person in labor feels like they need to eat a bagel, then they should have the bagel.
But should somebody in labor have to fight?
No,
And that's my
no.
beef.
Especially
When I'm
we're
freaking in
paying.
labor, I don't want to have to fight to eat a banana.
Right.
My thing
I'm
is,
really
people
good.
are paying
Their provider,
their
their
funding.
insurance company.
So many
It's
people.
not done for free.
No, it's not being done for free.
You can have a birth plan, things are going to change. But if you go into this space where you're paying all this money and nothing that you want is happening, that's
problem.
outrageous.
That's problem.
That's outrageous.
And let's talk about that. There are high risk humans. Why are we taking away the time they need?
Mhm.
Those high risk women need that care. They need that attention. They need different guidelines. And I don't know why we're taking low risk women and throwing them in that category, because now you're taking away what the high risk women needed.
Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Sorry.
I want that real. I want that.
Listen,
She'll get it.
you guys, this is such an important topic.
Yeah.
Right. It's such an important topic because, like we said, it's one of the main things that we think about when we think about pregnancy.
We get asked about it all the
labor.
time. Can I eat
Yeah.
in labor?
Can I eat? And again, as midwives,
Yes,
eat.
yes, please. Eat in labor,
Please.
please.
Eat something.
So my 2 cents would be, if you are low risk, consider that every intervention you do makes you more and more
Makes
high
you
risk.
high risk.
So
Yeah.
then some things go off the table, and eating's one of them. So what snacks are you bringing? For me, I know that there's like amazing broths out there. You mentioned chicken soup. Like there are miso soup, seaweed soup. There's all these amazing broths out
miso
there. But like Jasmine said, sometimes you want something heartier. What does that look like? And how easily digestive is that? So I think you do need like stuff that's digestible, easy. Think about that and think about that plan. Have that conversation with your care provider. Have that conversation with your hospital if you're going to do it.
I think sometimes we feel like I don't really want to ask because I don't want the confrontation.
Mm-hmm. For that, I say, get a doula, because there's so many times people ask me, what questions should I be asking, especially first-time parents, because they're like, I've never done this before. So I go to the doctor and my care provider says, do you have any questions? And they're like, I don't know. I have any questions. What should I be asking? If you don't know what to ask, if you feel like you're not getting the information that you want or your questions answered, get a doula.
If the mainstream stuff works for you, if what to eat while you're expecting is your jam, follow the jam. But if it's not, don't buy into it because it doesn't have your best interest in mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff teaches you to be a good patient. But being a good patient always isn't in your best interest. This is the birth of your kid. Listen to your care provider, work that out with your care provider. Food, I think your connection to food throughout your pregnancy, dive into that in your pregnancy, especially if it's your first, because you'll just pass that food stuff on to your kids. And you want to get a healthy relationship with food. Pregnancy is a great time to do that.
Yeah.
So explore that. Maybe share with us what your cravings are. How did you work through that? Did you work through that? And was it accepted? Did you eat in labor? What did the hospital do? Because we really wanted to be a local resource. So we'll share what each hospital said below, because we called every hospital and they told us this is what our protocols are, whether that was call your care provider. But you could at least have a list to know what you're going in.
So then if you call, you'll have at least some sort of reference. So I'm calling to find out this is the information I have.
Yeah. So if this is an important piece to you, that is being nourished while you know, it just feels like a big deal, right?
And it is. And it is. And that's why we're diving deep. So next time we're going to talk more. We talked about nutrition a little bit. We dove into that today. We're going to dive more into it next time, just about nutrition in pregnancy and in labor, and then postpartum too, right? Because super important. The fourth stage is the most important stage.
No big
you know,
we'll
so
talk.
I think we are now.
We'll talk more about it.
I think we are talking about it more.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us again. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Sherry.
I'm Erica.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Lovely.
Good job, ladies.